Hi guys, here we are in a new episode of What to Play Over the Weekend Ranked, the series where I analyze the Gods Unchained meta, the best decks and so on. So I promised you an episode every week now that we are with a new set, and I will do that. Actually, we didn't have any major patch, so don't expect like big changes, but at the same time, as I said, new cards are coming out, more card buying, but mostly importantly, more card crafted, so like all the legendary and so on. So actually the meta shifted a bit, and as we can see, the biggest shift from the last week is Light now, is literally the worst god. And actually the last week was the best one, and you may ask why. Well, because this card, Light and Luster, was bugged and at 5 mana was board wiping your opponent. Now is no more bugged, and now it does that at 7 mana. So yeah, that is a big change, and as you can see, Light really felt that, and instead, as you can see, Nature is really getting stronger and stronger. Nature is literally the best god right now. If you want to play something, if you have fun playing Nature, just play this. Literally every new card of Nature is really good. As you can see, 20% play rate and 50, like, it's literally crazy. Magic is as well really good, carried by Atlantan, while instead that is carried by Rock Drake, as we can see, as we will see. So, as you can see, instead the popularity, the most is always War, because there is Aggro War and so on, but actually Nature and Magic are really near, and actually, as you can see, War is really in a bad spot, like literally like Light, like, is really bad. Like, you should not play War if you literally have not just a War deck. Now, let's go jump instead in the best archetypes. So as you can see, the best archetype is not even Nature, actually, is Rock Drake, and we will check a Rock Drake deck after. Rock Drake is literally in a super good spot. The only problem with this deck is that he is really skilled, and then we will see like is flooded of like Nature, like Control Nature, Refresh Nature, Food Chain, even Food Chain Nature is meta, and even Magic, as you can see. So like Magic, Nature, that are the best god. Instead, as you can see, the bottom is just full of any Light and War, because the new card were not super good for this meta for those two gods. And now let's jump instead in the first decks. So let's jump with Nature, because as I said, it's the best god of the meta, so I want to show you the best decks of the meta. So this is a optimized Nature list, I would say. It has a bunch of new Nature cards, like a Natural Selection that is really good. Only one I would probably run two, just because this card is amazing. Lash Out, that is a double canopy, really good, even this one. And obviously the main important card, new card, is the Twitch Fidaz. This card is amazing. It's literally the carry of Nature right now, because it's a win con on itself, because it gets bigger and bigger, and at the same time it's really strong even for tempo. If you can get this like 2 times already, at the second time it literally kill aggro. And obviously for kill aggro you have all the board wipe with like Blood Water, all the healing with Compost Charm and Winter Bounty. And you can even go and tech for that which Feed Us, so you can delve it with Path of Nature, so it's not even that hard to get it. And we will see that Path of Nature is really important for another Nature deck. So this is really amazing, is like a mix of the old Control Nature and the new cards, and I think is really strong. But it's a bit more pricey than instead this one, that is instead a Refresh Nature. Oh, and this, as you can see guys, 81% win rate. I mean, he's from Caligula, he's a really good player, but at the same time, 81% is really crazy. As you can see, instead, this is a Refresh Nature. It costs a bit less, but still pretty pricey. The only difference is that the win condition there is mostly Xansidion, that I actually really like Xansidion, so I think this deck is actually really good. The only thing I don't like of this deck is that it has a lot of different cards, like for example, like all these, all one copy. I don't understand. Probably this guy is not like double copy cards, because if not, you should just run double copy card, because you improve your mulligan, you improve everything. Like you put probably double Rainsworm and remove one Crane's Rider, or put double Dread there and remove one Rust away, and so on, because it just makes the deck better and more reliable. Same even for this, like everything is monocopy, so yeah, I would probably just put double copy of the card you like the most, but still, this deck is really solid, just because literally you can't go wrong with Nature. Every card you pick, like all these cards, if you put double copy, all those cards are really strong. That's the fun part. So yeah, and that's why even Food Chain, a meme deck that I created like, I don't know, many months ago, that I have like, is one of my most viewed video, that video. Bro, the video was a meme and was actually a solid deck for the price. Now it's literally meta. Like, this deck is good. Like, Why, you will ask? Like, what new cards? Bro, you have cheap card. Like, this deck costs $4, is 63% win rate in Mythic, and like $4. And you will say, why? Well, because there are new cards that are literally crazy for full chain. Path of Nature. This is what you wanted. We were running, I don't know if you remember, but we were running a 3 mana spell for Delve Bladefly. Now you have literally Path of Nature to do that. You just delve a wild from your deck. You have a lot of other cards. This card that when killed spawn other wild, so you have always more wild for kill with your full chain. Regression is just amazing. Just amazing. Because it just make useless every opponent aggro. So, like, this card is literally just amazing. You should run double copy in any nature, because transform just enemy board. So you literally, even if you're playing an aggro nature, you just stick double copy of this. If you're playing a mirror aggro, you just play regression and make everything useless. Same for Dread Eater, it's just amazing. Like, all those cards that are just so strong individually made even food chain meta. That was pretty meme. So yeah, like, guys, just play Nature if you enjoy Nature. Like, I enjoy Nature. Or maybe play Rock Drake. That is even better than Nature. As you can see, 71% win rate in 80 games. That's crazy. The problem of this is that it's more skilled than Nature. Like, you have to know how to play Rock Drake. But if you know, as you can see, it's really strong. Like, actually, probably it's so strong right now that you can even play it, even if you don't play amazing. But if you want to have this win rate, you gotta play that in the correct way. Still, even if you don't play super optimized, you probably will win most of the games, because now Rock Drake is really good. It was already probably one of the strongest deck in the meta, and now you just got 3 perfect cards for Rock Drake. Not 1, not 2, but 3, and are literally all those 3. Broad Parasite is literally like another Rock Drake. Like, is another Rock Drake a bit less strong, but less conditional, so you just spawn for 4, even if you don't have like cards in your hand. And is even amazing for sacrifice it. Like, if at the start you don't have enough card and you have this, you can sacrifice this instead of Rock Drake, and so on. Part of that is just probably the best Rock Drake card ever existed, because you make damage to yourself that is really important for your beat ending, and at the same time you can take every card you want from your void. That is amazing in a deck like Rock Drake, where you have a lot of combo. You can take Necronomics, you can take the Sleep versus aggro, you can take, I don't know, probably even more bitter engine. I don't know. You just can take everything over the line if you discard it with Candy Chain. Like, it's just an amazing card for Rock Drake, even because, as I said, you take damage, and this is important for activate bitter ending. And the last card is Kale Cult Ceremony. It is actually amazing, even this one, because you look at the top 3 cards, you can put them in the void, and this is really important for a card that can probably like steal your Rock Drake and so on, that you just want them in the void for activate the Afterlife. That card is amazing, and even most importantly, you can even draw 2 cards if you draw touch, so you can kill, like, is another proc for like your Siren, is another proc for your Broad Parasite, for Rock Drake, and you will even draw. So it's even amazing, because it's literally like another untold grade for Rock Drake. Like, Rock Drake now is amazing. Essentially, if you have a Rock Drake deck and if you know how to play it, just play this week, trust me. And now instead, let's go in another really amazing deck. Guys, I'm sorry that I bring this deck so many times at Lantern in this series, but it's just amazing. Like, I try even to stick sometimes card draw magic, but this is just the best magic deck. Like, there is not a lot to do. Like, this deck is amazing. There are 2 versions essentially of this deck. Like, 70% guys out of 300 games is literally amazing, crazy. There are 2 versions essentially for make a resume. Is this one, so with standard Atlantean, and then the new one with the new legendary with Replicator and Echophon. To be honest, as I said even the other time, I prefer this one, and actually the data even confirmed that I was right. Like, this Atlantean has just higher win rate than the other one. I mean, the other one probably is a bit more funny because you can summon Echophon at 6, but still, I think without Echophon and Replicator is just better this one. Not a lot of things to say about this deck, just pretty easy to play. Play a lot of Atlantean, go wide, and try to stick a Francesca for make a 15-15 with Goblins that kill your opponent. That's kind of how you play it. No cap. Let's go instead on another deck that I bring it a lot, because just the best Deception deck. Even this deck, like, even Deception didn't have a lot of new cards, sadly, that are already meta. I kinda, to be honest, if I have to expect something, I expect a patch that will buff a bit of things like War, Light, Deception. All the new cards are a bit lower in win rate, so I expect mostly a buff patch. But we gotta see that in the future. But so let's see. This deck is literally a standard Mayday because, as I said, not a lot of new cards. The only things we can see actually is Restless Beekeeper that is new. We already analyzed that in the last episode. So essentially, you put a guild back in your hand, so really strong in guild deception because you jump back your Mayday, Blade Borrower, everything you need, and you can even return a sleeping enemy creature to your opponent hand. So it can help sometimes, maybe not really a lot. And most importantly, I wanted to talk about Lysel that was not in the other deck I showed with you the other time. This card is just amazing. I love this card. I think it's actually really, really strong. To be honest, I like this card mostly in an aggro deception guild, like the deck budget deception, the budget deception guild that I made. I think this card gives it their best there because this is actually even a finisher. Like you can get your opponent card for go face and so on. Like this is actually really amazing in the deck. In Mayday, to be honest, I really don't see a lot of meaning. At the same time, it's just so good, this card, that like it can literally stick in every deception. But still, this is probably the worst deception where to put this card. In the budget deception is really, 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 really good. Let's go now in the two worst gods. So War and Light will be actually pretty hard to talk about. I searched a lot for try to find a deck that had a little positive win rate in with War and Light. And actually this deck is a plain aggro war, but as you can see, amazing win rate. Obviously the majority of this win rate is mostly old, but actually this deck had a win rate even in the last days, so even in this meta. I mean, it's just a literal standard aggro war, so you go really wide with a lot of creature, and you start to go face with Imp, with Blade of Sticks, so yeah, you just essentially go face, want to lower your opponent, and you have as a finisher actually even three, I would say, pretty big cards that are Cunning Challenger that can really stack up versus controls, White Furguard, and Zregmarker Valka that actually will almost always proc his effect because if you have fewer than 2 cards in the end gain Blitz, and most of the time with this deck you will have less than 2 cards. Another pretty important card instead is Another Round that is a big buff that essentially all those cards are just for try to kill your opponent at the end, but most of the time, yeah, you just rush them, like it's not really an hard deck to do, but is actually still really solid in this meta because it's just really, really fast. At the same time, I'm not suggesting you to play neither War or Light, like just play Nature and Death, and if you want, even Atlantean is really solid, but even Mayday, but yeah, other than those, I suggest those, if I have to say, but if you have just War, this is a solid deck, essentially. Same for Light, like, if you have Light, I would suggest to play this, because it's just an aggro, it's pretty solid, it's standard Olympian, but I mean, it has a 74% win rate, I mean, less than 20 games, so not a big number, but still, this deck is for sure solid. To be honest, even in the new cards, the new Cultist, all the new Light cards, Chosen One, like nothing really had an amazing win rate in this meta, so I think just the old Light is the best Light you can play right now. So yeah, not a lot to say, just a lot of Olympian interaction. The most important card is obviously Earth Mother, that is set Olympian strength equal to itself, so like it's really important in this deck because you buff a lot of Olympian. And other two big card is Phalanx Champion, that this card is literally immortal in this deck, like it can literally come down like a 3-10 or even more. And even better if you combo that with Aegis, because you give plus 3 health, and most importantly, it changes its attack into equal to its health, so essentially this card just become like a 15-15 that take 1 damage less every time you make damage. So yeah, that's the combo you want to stick. I don't know how many times it will happen, but when it happens, actually, you have a kind of one. So guys, that was all for this episode. As I said, actually, even if it's a new set, still a lot of things didn't happen in my opinion. First of all, because we don't have still all the crafting cards, and second, because I think a good portion of the new set kinda need a buff. Obviously, instead, some other cards like the nature ones are actually really, really good. So yeah, essentially, enjoy playing nature. Bye bye. Oh, and if you didn't claim it, the Starknet airdrop, $150 for Who Play Gods Unchained, is the last time I say that. If you miss that, it's your fault. I literally try to tell you. Go check there.